September 11th, 2001 started like any other day. People were having breakfast, dropping kids at school, cloudless and perfect.
The morning of 9/11, everyone knows it was a beautiful September day.
It was the most beautiful blue sky day. And I was excited because on the Hudson River, they were starting this new free kayaking program.
At about 8:50ish in the morning, my mom called and said there has been an accident that a plane hit one of the towers.
And I know about airplanes and they don't fly into buildings by accident.
Allie Lesh was a teacher. Her school was 2 blocks from the towers.
I heard the explosion, what sounded like an explosion, and I looked outside, but I looked down because I thought maybe it was like a truck backfiring, and then I looked up and saw this big fiery hole in the Twin Tower, and then I knew something was going on.
Within minutes, a second plane hit the South Tower. This was no accident. Then the towers fell.
I turned around and I saw the tower falling down into itself. It kind of imploded inwards.
There were a bunch of people standing on the street corner across from the building, and they were staring up at the World Trade Center, which you could see from that corner, and they were all crying.
All of a sudden there were war jet planes overhead, but army planes, a lot of them flying overhead. And in my mind, the story I told myself was that, okay, we're being attacked, we're at war, and I thought those planes were coming to finish the job.
All of that vaporized smoke was just coming up, and it was just an apocalyptic looking thing if you look, and you couldn't not look out the window.
Allie had a classroom full of kindergartners. She had to decide what to do. Without a plan, without guidance, in the middle of an unimaginable morning.
We weren't getting a lot of guidance from our principal and everything of what to do. I was like, no, we're going to get in trouble if we leave the building. She's like, Allie, we have to get out of the building. And so that started this buzz among us, okay, I guess we have to get out of the building. And we take our kids and we start to evacuate. We evacuated sort of in a line going away up the West Side Highway.
Nearly 3,000 people died that day. Behind each name was a story. Jason Coppola lost his cousin.
My cousin, John Sherry, worked for Euro Brokers on the 84th floor that morning, and it was one of the buildings that got impacted by an airplane, United Flight 175. We found out that they were told to go to the roof of the South Tower. They didn't make it. Every time I travel in New York City, Trinity Church, New York City, is right there, and I know exactly where John's name is. So I go there all the time and pray for him, pray for everybody there.
Joseph DeRocco lost a friend, a hero who ran towards the towers and never came home.
He was just a hero. He was just a great guy, a good father. He never left the site. He called his wife at 9:30, and I recall reading an article where she said she knew that he, wasn't going to give up, and he didn't.
Richard Schlesinger was a journalist covering the aftermath. One story stayed with him.
The woman who lost her son, he was an EMT, and he was on his way to help and got killed when the buildings collapsed. She was a Muslim woman, and I walked into her house and she was sitting on the floor in her living room counting beads, which is a thing that Muslims do. She wasn't speaking, she was just counting these beads. And it was an extraordinary sign of grief. You didn't have to really look hard for those kinds of stories, which is what made it so horrible.
You might wonder, why are we in Cornwall making a film about 9/11? The answer is that the connection is closer than you might think.
I'm sure that you know people from Cornwall who were in New York that day. There are a lot of connections, obviously. Cornwall is an extraordinary place, in no small measure because it's such a strong community and there's such a sense of civic responsibility.
There was some people that were immediately affected that worked in New York and lived here on the weekends. I think all Americans were shocked, and angry.
The day was so scary that I started to feel like I needed to get out, get to the country. And actually, that's how I ended up in Cornwall, because Ben and I started to just imagine, like a starter house somewhere. Like, I felt like I needed somewhere to be that wasn't New York.
The disaster didn't end when the towers fell. The smoke burned for months, and the grief lasted longer.
I can still smell what the burning went on for months, and I was there taking classes, so I was there every week. It smelled like stuff that shouldn't be burning. I think it was like a plasticky smell.
There are still people, the first responders, there were a lot of people that had health impacts from being in that area for a prolonged period of time doing search and rescue.
There was a thunderstorm, I think maybe the second night after 9/11, and this I only learned afterwards that this is part of trauma, but I didn't recognize it as a thunderstorm. I thought we were under attack again.
For Michael Shulon, who lived near the towers and watched it all from his window, the hardest moment came when he had to talk to his son.
And I would take my son to school every morning. We would walk to school because it's in walking distance. And as we were walking there, we turned around and we looked down that morning, and there was at the place where the World Trade Center had been, and it no longer was there, but there was a big cloud in the sky, because there was this terrible black cloud in the sky for months and months and months. And he turned to me and he said, "How could this happen, Dad? You told me that something like this would never happen." And I don't actually think that I had said that to him, but it was a reasonable thing for a 13-year-old to say to his father in the midst of this terrible event. And I turned to him and I said, "Alexander, I never expected that anything like this would happen. And I don't know where it's going to go. And I can't really tell you what is happening, but I can tell you that we will get through this together, and we will get through this with our family and with our neighbors and with our city and with our country. And we will survive this, and we will go on to understand it and to learn from it and to build a future that will be good for you."
So why does this matter to us 25 years later? We weren't alive when it happened, but we've all grown up in a world it shaped. We asked the people in this film what they want us to take away from it.
No matter what your religion is, what side of, what your politics are, it just seems, this just shows how, innocent people can be caught up in other people's ideas and programs and have to pay a horrific price for it. Whatever your differences are, try to talk them out, work out your issues. There's got to be a better way than just, killing people.
It proved that America does have vulnerabilities, that, unfortunately there are people around the world that don't see our way of life.
9/11 was an event that challenged our idea of who we are as a country and forced us as citizens to think about what it is to live in a democracy.
We should remember all of the mistakes, in my opinion, they're mistakes, or all of the bad things that happen in history, so that we can make better decisions moving forward. So my dream would be that people would never forget the Holocaust, that people would always use what happened in the Holocaust, what happened in Vietnam, what happened on 9/11, all of these key moments in history, that we would learn from them and say, you know what, that didn't work. So let's do this differently. I have a lot of hopes and dreams. I have goals. I have what I want in the near future and the far away future. But at the same time, I remember that on that day, a lot of people died. Nobody thought they were going to go the way they went. And that tomorrow really, truly is never promised.